We're hanging out today at This Week in High School Sports show sponsor Red Onion Burgers on Mountlake Terrace, and joining me at the table with a delicious panini, I might add, is the owner, Sean Richards. Sean, you're extremely active in the community, and I know you do a lot of work through your charitable arm, Cheeseburger Babies Foundation, and you've got a big event coming up on July 3rd. Tell us about that.
We do. We have the third annual Mountlake Terrace Fireworks Celebration Show at Lake Ballinger. We've got lots of local support with the community that's our sponsors. We feature food booths, live music, carnival games and rides, and of course we light up the sky at 10 o'clock at night. So come on down and join us.
I had a chance to be there last year, and it was a blast. Pun intended, why not, right? Again, July 3rd, thanks to Cheeseburger Babies Foundation and Red Onion Burgers here at Mountlake Terrace.
Welcome to the final show of This Week in High School Sports for 2017-18. I'm Teresa Whipple here with Steve Willits, and we can finish up with some good news.
Some great news. Yeah, it was a state championship weekend. Again, all of the spring sports wrapping up. We have two individual state champions, which we're going to get to later in the show as we're going to interview them. But first, we're going to talk about a baseball team that went further than they've ever gone before, the Mountlake Terrace Hawks. They went to the state championship game last week. They were able to get a victory in their semifinal game, which meant that they were qualified for the big championship game. Unfortunately, they lost to Ellensburg 2-1. Your alma mater?
Yes.
Yeah, our alma mater is going head-to-head now,
I
right?
have to admit, when I saw it was Ellensburg, I guess I had to feel a little
It's not even in my notes, but I just all of a sudden, it dawned on me as we were talking here. Unfortunately, your alma mater comes away with a 2-1 state championship victory. Back-to-back state champions, by the way, so congratulations.
Wow.
But for the Hawks, a great year. Again, finishing second in the state, which is further than they've ever been. And as we mentioned last week, they were also the academic state champions this year. So we thought we'd better bring them in to talk about not only the academic championship, but also the run through the state tournament. Here is the greatest team ever from Mountlake Terrace High School's baseball program. What a finish to the Mountlake Terrace Hawks baseball season. Second at the state tournament. And they also won an academic state championship the week before. And with us right now, three of the key members of that team. The junior, Jesse James Martineau, down here on the end. He is a pitcher and a first baseman. In the middle, we have Matthew Johnson, plays third base and does a little pitching. And then Lane Zushin is a second baseman and an outfielder. Guys, congratulations on all the success lately. And I know you guys are going to want to talk about that state tournament, but I'm more focused right now on that academic state championship. That's a big deal. And all three of you contributed to this thing, right? Jesse with a 3.98, so you certainly had a lot to say with this trophy. And then you guys, 3 7s and 3 6s. So Jesse, talk a little bit about what it means to win that award, and was it something you guys even saw coming?
No, we weren't really expecting it. We knew we had a smart team, and we knew that we all carried high GPAs, but we weren't really expecting a state championship. So it was just really cool when we got it, and just a great honor.
So Matthew, be honest, did you guys know the award even existed?
No, we did not. So, I mean, that was just a really cool honor to have. You know, it's something that you really think about, just getting good grades to stay on the field. But, I mean, to be able to get that honor is really cool.
Lane, are grades something that baseball players talk about with each other? I mean, some of these long bus rides you guys have all over districts, is it something that ever comes up?
Not much, actually. Between our team, I think we just all kind of kept our grades together and just for the most part just did all by ourselves.
Yeah, pretty awesome. And an accumulative GPA of over 3.6. So nicely done, guys. So who's the smartest guy on the team?
Johnny Kumai.
Johnny Kumai, no question about it at all?
No question.
Okay. Is that what kind of a student is Johnny? Tell me a little bit about him. What's he?
I know Johnny's been in the STEM program for a little while, and he just does a really good job of, getting his homework done, get everything on time, and he's just a very intelligent guy in the baseball field.
So if we had baseball Jeopardy throughout Wesco, are you guys Wesco champs? What do you think, Jesse?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody agrees with that. Very nicely done. And we should mention, too, you're the only senior of this group, so where are you off to college next year?
I'm going to Boise State University.
You're going to use that big brain over in Bronco country, and what are you going to study?
Computer science.
Very good. So there's our academic portion of this conversation. Now let's talk a little baseball. Second place at the state tournament, further than any team has ever finished. Lane, have you guys let this settle in yet? I mean, it's been less than a week since the championship game. Have you started kind of thinking back and reflecting on the season and what this means?
Yeah, I think at the start of the season, we were really chasing to get to state, and that was a big deal. Just getting knocked out last year just didn't feel good for us. And I think basically just this year we wanted to get to state, and I think just how well we played as a team we just kept rolling.
Indeed, you did. And Matthew is the only senior at the table here. What about legacy? What does that mean for you and your fellow seniors? I know there's like 8 or 9 of you on this team this year. What does it mean for you guys to end your careers at a state tournament?
I mean, I think it really means everything. I feel like even beyond us, I feel like we're kind of playing for the people who graduated like last year and the year before. I feel like, we had alumni who reached out to us before the game and kind of, wished us luck. So I feel like that was huge for us to be able to get a banner and be able to kind of reflect on that as the years pass.
And I know from being over at the game at Yakima on Saturday, a little bit of a rough ending. You lose 2-1, and Ty and Run was on third base. So I know at the time it's hard to kind of put it all in perspective and enjoy the moment when you're coming off a rough loss. Jesse, I've got to think a few days after the fact, is it a little bit easier to accept and knowing that, hey, this is still pretty special this year?
Yeah, it was a great ride. The way we came together as a team was really special, and it was just really fun playing with these guys.
Well, and talk about the ride a little bit, especially during the playoffs, because you guys won 6 different elimination games throughout the tournament. That's both district tournament, where you ended up in the consolation bracket and had to win a couple of games just to qualify. And then, of course, the state tournament is all single elimination. Is this a team that Lane does well with pressure? I mean, is it a team that, have you noticed in the past when their backs are against the wall, they kind of come out firing and ready to go?
I think last year when we beat Cedar Crest, I believe, I think that's when I really knew that this team could play like big games. I think ever since that game, I think most of our team can really come in clutch for moments like that.
And for the district playoffs, second game of the playoffs, you guys lose to Linden. So again, that puts you into the consolation bracket with no room for error. Matthew, did you guys feel pressure at that point? Is it something that, did you guys have a meeting before the next game against Cedar Woolley? Or?
I would say it was kind of a reset button. You had to kind of push that and kind of move on. I mean, I feel like, the next game we played against Cedar Woolley, we were down 2-1 in the bottom of the 6th inning, and that was kind of when we rallied and put together 5 runs. I think after that game, we kind of got things rolling, and I know Coach always talks about when teams get hot, anything can happen. And I feel like that was kind of us in that situation.
And Jesse, one of the teams you got to defeat, the team you did get to defeat to clinch the spot in state was Anacortes, a team that not only has beaten you in the past, beat you last year, but also a team that was ranked number 1 in the state going into the playoffs. How big was it that it was the Seahawks you beat, not somebody else?
It was cool that it was them, but because they helped knock us out last year, we just basically took on that we were the underdogs, and we just ran with it and just played our best baseball and got it done.
I'm going to ask you guys the same question. Did it matter a little bit more that it was Anacortes?
I think it definitely hyped us up a lot more. That was the team that hosts the tournament, and they have all their fans who come down, and they're kind of a cocky team. So we really embraced the challenge all week in practice. I felt like we had some of the best practices we had all year, and we felt really prepared.
So then the following week you go to the state tournament. It's the round of 16. 4 teams are put in each region, so only 1 team out of the 4 will come out of that weekend. You have to win 2 games, and your first game was against Port Angeles. Tell me a little bit about that game, Lane. I know we got a pretty nice pitching performance in that game too, right?
Yeah, who pitched that game?
Tanner.
Tanner, yeah, sorry. Tanner had a really good performance, and I think I think that was the game we kind of just decided to do like our jobs. Everyone did their job that game, and that got us. Matt had 2 bunts down for base hits, and just plays like that. That's what gets you into the playoffs right there.
And Jesse, you were telling me earlier, so then you have to play a second game later on that day, but first you have to wait for the winner of the game after you to see who's going to be your opponent. And it was a game that went, I think, 11 innings. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was a long time.
So talk about that a little bit in terms of, well, first, what did it mean for you guys having to wait around? Is that kind of rough for you, knowing that you're ready to get back out there and play a game, your biggest game of your life, and you're sitting there and you're in a kind of a delayed pattern there, so to speak?
Yeah, it was different because, usually we get there an hour before the game and just start warming up, but with the game before it, we had to sit for an hour before our hour warm-up, so it was a lot different. You had to get re-warmed up. It's not like a double header. It was a huge gap in between games, so it was good that we were able to get warmed up and get ready to go.
And I'm guessing not a bad thing that Highline had to play 11 innings either, right? Before they had to play you, right? You guys weren't complaining about that, right?
No.
And Matthew, tell me a little bit about the Highline game. I know a shutout, right? You guys defeated them 3-0.
Yeah, that was one of those games that Kendall from the get-go really just stepped up, and I don't even know if he really walked anybody. He was right on, and we at the beginning of the game, we were a little bit rough getting runs together, and we had one inning where Tyson Kim had, I think it was one or two RBIs, hit up the middle, and that was a huge rally for us because we knew with Kendall on the mound that we were good. Just shut him down, we got the dub.
So you got the W, you advanced to the semifinals, and then you have to wait another week to get into the your next game. That's got to take a little bit out of you, right? Psychologically, the wait, just knowing that the biggest game ever is coming up, and you can't just get out there and play it right away. Lane, what was the week like leading up to the state semifinals?
I think it was actually really relaxed as a team. I think that we basically got our practices done, and I think that our anacortes week was probably better practices, but this week I just felt like we were hot, like we knew we had this, and we just had to get our good practices in, and we were ready for the game.
You guys played a 1 o'clock game on a Friday, and you drove over that morning. So you stopped off, had breakfast, and then kept going. What is that like, Matthew? I mean, would you rather just be there the night before and get a good night's sleep, or are you thinking about the game the entire way over? Is it a nervous drive? What is it like when you're making?
I felt like it was a really relaxed drive. I mean, I don't know. I've kind of been on both situations, and I feel like sometimes when you take the the hotel route and you sleep in, sometimes you come out a little bit lackadaisical just because you kind of just got up. I feel like with the bus, we were more awake, we're together, and I feel like that was kind of getting more of a drive going before the game.
So this is a baseball team. During the districts, you had to make 3 different trips up to Mount Vernon. And then your first 2 rounds of the state tournament are up in Bellingham. And then the state semifinals and the championship game are over in Yakima. Jesse, are you guys tired of driving for a while? Are you ready to stay close to home? Or
Yeah, the whole team is really close, so the drives weren't bad, and we were mainly just relaxed, listening to our own music and just talking. But yeah, I'm kind of done with the driving for a little bit.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So, hey, the semifinal game. Again, you're trying to get to the state championship game for the first time in school history, and you go out there and you beat a West Valley team, and it was kind of an interesting game, too. You guys get a 4-0 lead. They come back and get 3 runs, and then you kind of put them away late in the game. Talk about that game a little bit and what that was like, Matthew, just going through the emotions of that game and what it was all about.
From the beginning, when we were doing the pregame, we always kind of have a bad pregame. So they were kind of looking at us and thinking, all right, we have them. And right when the game started, we jumped on them early, like you said, and got 4 runs. And then it was kind of, we tried playing that game of, just trying to hold them to a few runs and kind of ride out our lead. And when they came back and put up 3, I think that kind of lit a fire under our offense. And we were able to go get 3 in the top of the 7th. And at that point, we had our closer, Dylan Gordon, who's been doing it all year, and just trusted him to go get 3 outs for us, and it worked out well.
So, Lane, what was the mindset like for you when it was 4-3? Did you start to think, oh, no, we're not going to lose this now?
Funny thing, I had to pee really bad, so I went to the bathroom right before, got up my next at bat, got walked. I think right at that moment, our team knew we were gonna get him right there.
That's a first in this. That's a first in our show right there. So, that's what it takes, right?
Yeah.
And what was the moment like when you won that game and you realized you were going to the state championship? Jesse, was there a nice dog pile right at
Not dog pile because you didn't want to injure anyone, but a nice jumping circle. And then right after we left the gate, all of our parents were there to congratulate us, which was really cool. And all the parents were coming on the field and we were hugging them because it was just special moment.
And you're over in Yakima, and you've got to play the state championship game the next day. Is it an evening where you're relaxing at the hotel, or Matthew, what are you guys doing to get ready for the next game?
I felt like it was more relaxed. I felt like most of our preparing was done during the week and practices. So I felt like it was more taking our mind off it for a little bit and then refocusing the next day.
Lane, I'm afraid to ask at this point, but I'm going to try it anyway. So what was the evening like for you? Were you able to kind of just
I was just
lay low?
relaxed, yeah. Most of the day we just ate a little bit. We just sat there, waited for the game.
So when you're playing in the state championship game, is there that moment where you're just kind of, do you stop and take it all in and think, oh my goodness, this is it. This is the big time right here. Or once you get out, there's the adrenaline flowing in. It's just another baseball game. Jesse, what was that feeling like for you when you lined up for that opening pitch?
The opening pitch was special. I mean, they had a huge crowd because Ellensburg is 35 minutes away. So they had a huge crowd and they were making a lot of noise. So it was special. It was almost like it was like a college or pro game because it was really loud in there.
You guys are playing in a minor league baseball stadium too, so that's a little bit different. Matthew, does it make it a little more intimidating, or is it?
We earlier on in the year we played at Ever Memorial, so that was a really cool experience. I felt like it was kind of similar to that, but on a way higher magnitude. But I felt like with the crowd as that goes, we felt like pretty prepared because we played Anacortes earlier on in the year, and they were kind of in the same situation as Ellensburg. They have a lot of fans who came, so I felt like we were more comfortable to that environment than we were prior, just because I had already experienced that feeling more than once.
And it seemed to work because, again, although you lost 2-1 final score, great game. And I want you guys to each talk about each other here momentarily too. So tell me a little bit about who I'm talking to up here and what kind of a player and a teammate they are. Jesse, let me start with you. Tell me about Matthew and what the senior's been like to have around in the clubhouse and also on the field.
Amazing leader, a guy that doesn't say that much. He does it, so it's really cool that you can just follow his lead. Great third baseman, great hitter, but probably our best hitter on the team, got offensive MVP, probably one of the best hitters in the state. He's really a special player. Great to play with him. Always has a great attitude. Yeah, he's just overall amazing player.
And he's also got the darkest hair up here. So didn't do the state tournament thing. Are you guys okay with that, or was that a sore spot of contention there?
He was busy that day.
Okay, we'll let him off the hook with that. Matthew, tell me about Lane.
Lane, he's just a grinder. I mean, he's just one of those players that when we need a rally and he's the leadoff guy, he's the guy that's going to get the bunt down, get the walk, get the base hit, get on base, and then steal a bag, do something. He's one of those guys that you're always watching out for because you really don't know what's going to happen there, but usually it's always good. Like we had one play earlier on in the year where he was on first base with like a bunt, and he took first to third because the third baseman came in, and that was just a really heads-up play, and that's the type of player Lane is. He's just kind of scrappy, but one of those guys that you love having on your team.
And then Lane, how about Jesse down there?
So we call Jesse the gamer right here.
Jesse the gamer. Okay.
Jesse's the gamer. Practice-wise, we get it done. He gets it done. He has good practices, but he just keeps our team really, if everyone's always tense, he really keeps us, he loosens us up. He's really good at that. Defensively, I don't know. He maybe had one error this whole year. Best probably first baseman I've seen this year. I can definitely see him as being one of our biggest leaders next year for this season.
Speaking of next year, so I'll ask the senior here. Matthew, tell me what kind of chances did these guys have of coming back and maybe doing something similar?
I love their chances. I feel like they have really good leadership. I mean, as Lane talked about Jesse here, I think him and Johnny Kumai and Lane here are really going to be good leaders for this team. I feel like they have really good experience, and the freshmen that we have coming in that are going to fill the spots, I have a lot of confidence in. Caden Alley, I think, is going to do a really good job coming in and replacing some of our outfielders that we're losing. We had an all-senior outfield. And I feel like Ryan Kakacian will fill a good role in the infield as well with the guys we're losing. So I feel like they have the experience, they've seen it been done, and they can kind of build off that.
And the bar's been raised very high now, so we will find out. And then finally, Lane, Jesse, you guys are only juniors, and no time for rest, right? You guys are already practicing for football for next fall, right?
Yeah.
Football's coming up, yeah.
We got a couple different guys here. I know you're the quarterback on the team. Lane, you're wide receiver and playing a little corner. I know you've had an outstanding career there so far. So are we excited about Hawks football for the fall and the prospects?
Very excited. Hopefully we can take what baseball did, maybe build, and just take the same mindset, just work hard, everyone do their jobs, and just make a state run, hopefully.
And they've got another wide receiver, Brandon Bach, who took third in the javelin at state. So hopefully all of that will equate to a nice football season. But first and foremost, go ahead and enjoy this for a little bit, guys. Again, congratulations, second at state, academic state champs, the Mountlake Terrace Hawks baseball team, the most successful team in school history. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And one final note regarding the Mountlake Terrace High School baseball team. This week's Action Jackson Plumbing Player of the Week award goes to Kendall Yackley, starting pitcher in the championship game. Kendall had an outstanding season, did not have a loss on the entire year going into the game. Team didn't win the state championship, but he kept them in it the entire way. 2-1 defeat, but nonetheless, Kendall, for your outstanding performance, not only in the championship game, but throughout the playoffs and the regular season, you are this week's Action Jackson Plumbing Player of the Week.
Well, since Steve has his mouth full of our sponsor, Red Onion Burgers burger,
The Baconator.
yes, there you go. Delicious, as you can attest, so try one if you haven't yet. Just want to say that the Hawks had an amazing season, and yes, it was my alma mater that beat them. But you know, Steve, my first thought when I heard about the fact that Ellensburg was back-to-back champions, I remember going to a baseball game there when I was in high school, and I don't know how they hit the ball because the wind is blowing 70 miles an hour.
And guess what? The wind was blowing in Yakima the day of the game. So
It's probably gave them an advantage.
It might have.
Almost
They're
like
used
home
to it.
field advantage, because Yakima's not very far from Ellensburg.
Very true. And it was a 2-1 game, so really neither team hitting the ball very much for that matter. But again, what an outstanding season for that team. A team that we weren't sure what to make of them going into the district playoffs and won a handful of elimination games and then finally got all the way to the big game. So nicely done.
Really great. Okay, and we had another team that ended up at state.
We did, the Edmonds-Woodway Warriors, and talk about oh so close. Again, this was the second consecutive year the Warriors baseball team made it to the 3A state semifinals. Lost to Kelso 5-4 in the semifinal game in the final inning. A walk-off victory for Kelso. I think they walked in the winning run, unfortunately. So the Warriors then fell to the consolation third-place game, which they lost to Eastside Catholic. So for the second consecutive year, the Edmonds-Woodway Warriors taking home a fourth-place trophy. Nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah,
So
going to state 2 years in a row is pretty incredible accomplishment.
outstanding job by Dan Somoza and the rest of the guys there. So congratulations to them.
Yep, yeah. And now we've got to talk about track, yes?
We do have to talk about track and a number of athletes, some of which we'll talk about coming out of this interview. But the two primary ones that we're going to talk about are both state champions this year. Yukino Parle winning her second state title in the 3200. She also won this event 2 years ago as a sophomore. And Hannah Hicks, who won the long jump state championship over the weekend. Had to bring them in, right? Two young ladies we've gotten to know over the course of the last couple years. Here's the interview we did with Hannah and Yukino. And for the final interview segment of the year for us, we've brought in not one but two state champions, two young ladies from Edmonds-Woodway who had outstanding track and field careers and wrapped up their careers with championships last weekend. Yukino Parle, who won the 3200 meter, also took second place in the 1600 meter. And Hannah Hicks, who won the long jump this weekend. First of all, congratulations, ladies.
Thank you.
Hannah, we've got to start with you because you were just in studio a week ago. If we had known you were going to win the state championship, we would have held off a week and not even brought you in. A little bit surprised that you were a state champion?
Yeah, I'm very surprised actually. I mean, I was going in there 5th, and I was hoping to, at least place 4th, but I'll take first.
Yeah, you're happy with that?
Yeah, it was very exciting.
And
yeah.
for somebody who's never won a state championship, I know in soccer you got a 3rd place, right?
Yep, yeah.
What is it like to step on that podium knowing that you're state champ?
I mean, it's really amazing. I've been on other podiums first place, and being on this one it means a lot, and it's just an amazing feeling, and yeah.
Well, congratulations. Yukino, for you, it's just another day at the office, right? You second state championship, we should mention, for you in the 3200. You won it your sophomore year. Mm-hmm. You've got 6 second place finishes, either as an individual runner or as a team, both in track and field and cross country. Tell me a little bit about how this state championship feels.
Yeah, I mean, I came in with the goal of winning both the 16 and 32, and I didn't win the 16, but I did win the 32, and I was pretty happy with that. I didn't accomplish my goal, but I'm still happy that I won at least one of them. So
Yeah, the 1600 is the one that kind of eluded you. So was that? Is it fair to say you wanted that one maybe more than the 32, just because you'd already won the 32 in the past?
yeah, I definitely felt like I needed to prove myself in the 16. I'm not, my PRs aren't as good in that event, so I definitely wanted that one, but I'm definitely a lot more confident in 32. So I knew, like, after the 16, I knew that the 32, I probably had a better chance of winning.
So the two events were 2 days apart, correct?
Yeah, I had the 16 on Thursday and the 32 on Saturday.
So take us through the 3200. When you're in a race like that, how many girls are in the final?
I think we had 18.
So you got 18 girls out there. You're going to run 8 laps around a track. Mm-hmm. What is the strategy? Obviously you know some of the girls that are already out there. You've run with them in the past. Are you looking to just kind of see how your body's feeling going at that pace, or do you try to get behind a certain group of girls? What are you thinking in a 3200?
My coach told me beforehand that since I had a pretty good PR, so that so a lot of the girls probably were expecting me to lead, and so I decided not to lead, and to try maybe like throw them off a little bit. So I decided to sit for a while, and then and I knew that the 2 North Central girls probably would take it out with about 800 to go, and so I was just waiting for that, and yeah.
And a fun little story here. We got to get Hannah back into the loop on this one. Yukino, you're kind of your signature move is you like to get people around the corner there on the back stretch and beat them down the front stretch there. What Hannah, tell us the story about. I know Erin Richardson, one of your track teammates, was sitting up in the stands watching the final race and watching Yukino come around that final turn. Take us through the story that he tells.
Yeah, so he told me that he was sitting with another family who was talking about Yukino, and they were talking about how they were kind of worried that she was trailing those 2 girls, and they didn't know if she'd be able to pull off that kick. And Aaron kind of told them, he's like, if she's still behind them as close as she is by the 200, then she's definitely got it. And he said that after she pulled in front of them and won, he said that he felt like a proud parent, because he was right, and yeah.
And I know from talking to you in the past too, you're also a fan of watching Yukino. And tell me a little bit about you kind of know when she goes into that turn if she's within a certain distance.
Yeah, I mean it's really amazing to watch her, because I've seen her come off the 200, and she's got like 50 yards and like between her and a girl, and she's been able to use that kick and beat that girl in the last like 5 yards, and to see that and to see her like the effort that she puts into that is so amazing, and it's really fun to watch, and it's really fun to cheer her on when she's doing that.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Having that kick, is that fun for you? I mean, do you enjoy that part of it?
Yeah.
Hard not to, right?
It's actually pretty fun, yeah.
It's kind of an adrenaline rush. I mean,
Yeah.
would you almost rather be in second or third place coming out of that corner than being ahead?
I like chasing more than being chased.
I don't blame you.
painful,
It seems to
but-
work for you. Somebody else who was doing a little chasing and finally won at the end was your event. You won on the last jump, correct?
Yes, I did.
And I should point out too, much like yourself with Yukino, you were watching Hannah, right?
Yeah, there's a bunch of us standing along the fence, and we got to watch her last 2 jumps, and it was really exciting. Yeah, we all cheered when we saw the scoreboard, and yeah, it was pretty exciting.
So you were there right when she won the state championship. So Hannah, you were the final. Your final attempt was the final attempt of the entire meet. At what place were you in going into that final jump?
Going into the final jump, I was 3rd.
Okay, so you knew at worst you were going to have the 3rd place medal.
Worst, I was 3rd. So.
Okay. Pressure at that point. As a jumper, I mean, how many attempts do you get?
We get 3.
Okay.
We get three in prelims and then 3 in finals if you make it. Yeah.
Do you kind of sense after the prelims and the finals that you either have it or you don't that day? And what is your mindset going into that final jump, knowing that you need a certain distance to win a state championship?
Yeah. So normally I can tell about like when I'm in the prelims about how I'm jumping that day. And I was feeling pretty great. I wasn't tired and I wasn't sore anyplace. And then going into my last jump, I don't pay a lot of attention to what the other girls in front of me are jumping. And so I knew that I was in 3rd, but I didn't know where the other girls were, and I knew that they were close to where I was. So I wasn't feeling a lot of pressure, but I really wanted to go out there and just have a really good jump, hopefully maybe pull out a PR or a next best jump. And I knew that it was the last jump of my senior season, so yeah.
Not a bad way to end it.
Yeah.
At what point do you know that you've won? I mean, do they have to come out and measure it? Did you look over to the side and immediately know? Did you know when you were in midair that, hey, I think this is it? I mean, when do you actually realize and recognize that I think I just won a state championship?
Well, when I did jump, I landed, and my coach, who was with these guys, with Yukino and the other guys, he said, he leaned over and he told my mom, he's like, oh, it's gonna be close. And so he's got a better judge about where I am when I land than I do. And so I knew that when he said, oh, it's gonna be close, that I must be close to the title. And so you really didn't know in that meet specifically until they put it up on the board. Because the judge said the number, but until it's on the board, it's not official. So once that number changed from a 3 to a 1, that's when I knew.
Celebrate.
Yeah.
Very nice. Hey, it's been kind of a rough year for both of you in terms of injuries too. And obviously, best to be healthy at the end of May than maybe if you've got to be injured, do it in April, right? It seems to work out a little better that way. Talk a little bit about overcoming the injuries and maybe if it even makes it this much more special knowing that you're here now. Yuki, I know you've had a couple different lingering injuries that were kind of bothering you and hampering you early in the season, right?
Yeah, over spring break I had a pinched nerve in my foot, and so that took me out of my workouts and a couple races. But I was still able to run, and so I didn't lose too much fitness over that. So.
And we noted earlier on the show about a month ago. Is it fair to say the Easton Invitational was kind of the okay, I think she's back moment? I know you went out there and you set the Easton Invitational meet record, which is huge because that's an invite where numerous runners from across the state come every year.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was pretty rested for that since I'd taken a week of pretty easy running. So I tried not to worry too much about my fitness and just focus on competing. So. And
she did a pretty darn good job at that. And then Hannah, what about you? What have been some of the challenges for you injury-wise this year? And when did you start recognizing that, okay, maybe I'm putting it together at the right time?
Yeah, so I had a little bit, also some foot problems. I think I had a little bit of shin splints. Most of my injury was more mental, not getting in my head mostly. And I took a little bit off. I couldn't take too much because I was also running for the relays. But I kind of knew that I was back in there during the Edmonds District Championships when or actually the meet before that. I'm not sure what that was, but I got back into the 17s and I was pretty happy about that. So that's when I kind of knew that I was good, and then
putting yourself in position to maybe do something special like win state. And for your efforts, both of you, I know I think we actually honored Yukino with this earlier in the year, so we're going to give these to her now. First of all, this is Hannah's. This is for winning the state championship this week. You were the Action Jackson Plumbing Player of the Week, so we'll give that to you. And then Yuki, we haven't had a chance to see you in studio yet, but I think we gave this one to you after you won the Easton Invitational. So not only winning the Easton Invitational, but setting the record for it. So I want to give you both those shirts and wear them proudly. I know you're building quite the Action Jackson Plumbing collection at this point, since both of you have gotten those in other sports and other seasons too. Big week for you all around, right? Not only did you win a state championship, but you both were honored at the student athlete banquet too. Not only do you have to be a great athlete, but a student as well, and both getting scholarship money at that. How important is it for you to get recognized at something like that, Hannah, or to know that you're not only being recognized for what you're able to accomplish on a track or on a soccer field, but also in the classroom?
It's really special to be honored, something like that, especially with the schoolwork we're both in the IB program, and so that's a really rigorous curriculum, and so knowing that I'm able to compete in two sports and excel in two sports, and then also go and excel in the classroom, just kind of it's really special, and it just kind of proves how just being recognized for that is really great. So
yeah, and Yukino, for you, I mean, obviously long distance running takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So does working on school projects and keeping those grades up. How are you able to kind of keep everything in place and in perspective and keep your schedule going to where you're able to exceed in both?
Yeah, I mean, running has kind of just become part of my daily routine, so it's not actually that hard, except when we have a hard workout and I'm really tired, but I usually get through it, so yeah.
Get it all figured out.
Yeah.
I also want to ask, since it's the last time we get to interview you as Edmonds-Woodway students, I know you've got a couple weeks left before graduation, prom coming up, everything else. Besides the state championship, because we just talked about it, you've both had such storied careers as athletes at Edmonds-Woodway, not only in track, but Yukino for you in cross country and Hannah for you in soccer. Kind of curious as to if you have one or two maybe favorite Edmonds-Woodway memories along the way. Hannah, do you have anything that maybe when you're starting to reflect back now that you kind of immediately go to as your go-to memory?
Yeah, so my sophomore year, the Edmonds-Woodway soccer team went back to state and we placed third. And my favorite memories from that year, we were at the game for third and fourth. We were against Arlington for I think like the third or fourth time in the season, and it was really fun because that game was we didn't quite take it very serious. We were taking it seriously, but it was very light, and we got to the stadium and we knew that we knew how much of an amazing season we had already had. And we were kind of just playing in the frost because it was a frosty morning, and the other team was all serious, getting ready for the game. And I think we warmed up for about 3 minutes and then went and placed third. So
it's got the victory.
Yeah.
Again. Nice. Yukino, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar to her story about being all positive and happy, but my sophomore year we placed second as a team in cross country, and it was really unexpected. We were really happy just to qualify because I think we placed second to last at the district meet the year before. And so that was really exciting, and we went there really open-minded. We were just there to have fun, and I think that obviously like helps a lot too, to be there and not stress too much about placing or anything like that.
Coming very close to winning a title. And I should mention too, you're not done running yet. You've got a big race next week. Talk about June 8th. It's a Friday over at Shoreline Stadium, the Brooks Invitational.
Yep.
Some of the top runners I know in the country are going to be racing in one race, and then there's also a race for local athletes too. Who are we expecting to see there running against you?
Yeah, there's some people from nearby, like Issaquah, and I think a couple other girls who are pretty fast around the state, so that should be pretty fast and exciting.
And this is a race where it's not just the 3A athletes, so it's really all the top 3,200 athletes from the state, no matter what classification, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple people here and there who got into like the national race, but I think there's going to be some pretty good competition, so I'm pretty excited.
I can imagine. And do we know what time your race is scheduled to go off that day, or is it?
I am not sure at all.
So we'll maybe try to put that up on my Edmonds News. It's next Friday. It's at Shoreline Stadium, so not that far away. And if anybody hasn't had a chance to see the Brooks Invitational, again, it's one of the premier high school running events in the nation. So certainly worth getting out there and seeing that. I think it starts around 3 or 4 o'clock and gets over around 8. So hopefully we get a nice crowd out there and a lot of Edmonds-Woodway folks.
Yeah, hopefully.
And the other question I have for both of you, I know, Hannah, maybe for you it's a little bit different because we talked about it last week, Montana State. I know you're hoping to maybe walk on there.
Yeah.
Just kind of curious as to how much time you each allow yourselves to take off now that you've finally gotten everything out of the way in terms of Edmonds-Woodway and certainly after the Brooks Invitational. Do you get a chance to kind of relax your body, or do you start to try to anticipate maybe what you're going to need to do at the collegiate level, and do you get right back out there and start jumping again?
Yeah, so I'm taking a week off, maybe 2, and then I'll probably just start hitting the weight room again, mainly focusing on that. They have all-comers meets in the summer, so I might go out and jump a little bit at those, but mostly it's lifting and making sure I'm staying strong.
Okay, and then Yukino, you're heading to Boise State to both do track and cross country. Cross country's in the fall, so I would imagine you're not going to be resting much.
Yeah, I mean, it also depends on whether or not I'm going to be redshirting. If I redshirt, I'm just going to train through the cross country season. But I don't really know the plan with that yet, but I'll probably end up taking about 1 or 2 weeks off after my Brooks race and then get right back into training. So. And
the interesting thing to note, Malia Pivic, who went to Linwood, is a year older than you. I know the two of you have had some great friendly battles over the years in the 16 and 32. Does that help too, having somebody who's a friend and who is basically in the same program as you over there? Has she been able to kind of give you tips as to what to expect your freshman year? Or does that conversation maybe happen over the summer?
I'm hoping to run with her this summer, and that'll be pretty exciting. And she was actually my my host for my recruiting trip over there, so I got to hear a lot about her experiences over there, and I'm pretty excited to join her.
You should, and we're very excited to honor these two once again. Like I said, we've had a chance to get to know both of you over the last couple of years, and could not be more thrilled that you both were able to end your Edmonds-Woodway careers with state championships. So, Yukino, Hannah, congratulations and best of luck in college.
Thank you.
Well, another incredible year for those young ladies that we've had on the program, as you said many times before, and there were more track athletes that were successful.
There were. We'll start off with Edmonds-Woodway since we're already kind of there.
Yeah.
The girls taking 6th place overall at state, and they mainly took 6th place because of those two young ladies and what they were able to do in getting points. The boys also taking 13th as a team, and a number of our athletes there from the Warriors who ended up on the podium and ended up taking home medals. Chinadu Achulanu, only a sophomore, we've had him on the show, took home 2 medals. He finished 5th in state in the 200 meter, 7th in state in the 100 meter. Grant Christian took 6th place in the 800 meter race. Aaron Richardson, 7th place in the 300 hurdles. And Lucas Lacamba, 8th place in the 1600 meters. So nicely done by all those young men. And again, we've got a chance to know a lot of them fairly well over the year, and happy to see all of them achieving everything. And one more athlete to mention too, by the way, Brandon Bach from Mountlake Terrace. A little bit disappointment for him in that he won the javelin state championship last year at the 2A level. This year he took home a 3rd place. So nonetheless, an outstanding season for him, and he has 1 year left, so he's only a junior, so we'll see what he can do in the future.
Yeah. I mean, again, we talked about this last time. If you make it to state, regardless of what happens when you get there, it's an incredible accomplishment.
Definitely, and there are other athletes from all of our schools around the area who did make it to the state tournament. Too many to mention all by name, but certainly for any of them, congratulations on your season.
Yeah, it's probably a good segue to talk about tennis, right?
It is, and a young lady we had in studio just last week, Annie Huang, who is a freshman at Mountlake Terrace, took home a fourth place finish at the 2A state tournament that was held at the University of Washington this past weekend. Fourth place as a freshman, and
Yeah.
you know the tennis game fairly well. I know
do.
you had some kids that, or at least your daughter played for a
Yeah.
while, so you know it's not easy to place at a state tournament as a freshman.
Not as a singles player.
No, not at all. So Annie has a long, hopefully successful road ahead of her, and can't wait to see what she does in the future. Two other players that we want to mention from Edmonds-Woodway, Haley Renfeld and Alexi Huffman, finished in 8th place at the 3A doubles tournament. So congratulations to them.
Yep, yeah, and a very hot, my understanding, temperature over there in the Tri-Cities for that
Yeah,
tournament.
Tri-Cities and tennis in
Yeah.
late May.
It's hot.
Not a great combo. I wouldn't want to be there, but again, congratulations to them.
And you had a very special time last week. You were the MC for the Scholar Athlete Banquet.
I was for the Edmonds School District. We honored 17 different students from the Edmonds School District, as well as 8 coaches. And it was a great evening. And 2 athletes we want to mention in particular, both of which have been on the show. Matthew Johnson from Meadowdale and Abby Douglas from Linwood, each winning $3,500 scholarships while there. So I appreciate Julie Stronzik and the rest of the group over there for allowing me to be the MC, and I had a wonderful time and a lot of fun to see some of these athletes who we've, quite frankly, gotten to know on our show over the last few years, end their careers on a really high note. Of course, anytime you win any kind of an award, it's nice, but also getting scholarship money, not a bad thing either. So
Yeah, it's really great. Well, we will, unless I've forgotten something.
I think we've covered it all.
We are going to wrap up our season today, and we appreciate, as always, you following us along. We look forward to coming back next year and having a brand new season. I can't believe we actually are talking about fall, but we are.
it'll be here sooner than we think.
I know.
Yeah, we'd like to take a moment to thank all of the athletes, the coaches, the parents who have come in at times, and everybody who's watched and supported the show, and of course, Red Onion Burgers.
Yes, and Action Jackson Plumbing for our Player of the Week sponsorships as well. Between Action Jackson and Red Onion, we've had great support from them, and we appreciate that. So have a wonderful summer. We will see you in just a couple months.